We are talking Under Paris, or at least that is the English translation of this French Netflix shark attack movie. So, Under Paris. This wasn't quite like I was expecting, I have to say. What's the story? Well, it focuses on this marine biologist who we see at the beginning of the movie has a unfortunate encounter with a large mako shark. And the thesis is that these sharks are evolving thanks to humans and their changing of the environment. And this marine biologist, Sophia, her team get killed by this particular shark. And sometime later, she's now in Paris, and this same shark seems to have travelled halfway across the world into the rivers of France, and is in the sort of the catacombs and the rivers of Paris, and ultimately killing people. And it has evolved, it has become bigger, able to survive in fresh water, among other things. So it's up to Sophia, a group of police and a couple of activists to try and put a stop to this menace. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. It may surprise you to know that this kind of movie felt more like Jaws: The Revenge than any other kind of shark film I care to mention, in a way. And let me explain why that is, because I know that's not a particularly well-remembered movie. But let's talk about what works. Okay, so this is a higher production value than a lot of sort of shark films that we see that come straight out on, VOD, DVD, things like that. Certainly when you watch the film as a whole and you've watched, the finale and everything, it certainly has scale that maybe shark attack movies, for the most part, don't have. So there is that. I will say I think the underwater sequences are very well shot, and I think it's particularly effective when we have sequences that involves the Paris catacombs, because we have these tunnels with just skulls all over the place and stuff, and then you add sharks to that. I mean, it's pretty impressive to look at, I have to say. So that was all pretty good. We get a variety of shark attacks. I have seen some complaints that this isn't bloody enough for some, but I don't think it's too bad, I have to say. I mean, you do see some people getting chomped in half and stuff like that. Maybe it's not over gory, but I think it's fine. I don't think this movie is too PG in that regard. Trust me, this has got a high body count. This has got more people getting killed by sharks than the Jaws series combined. I would say I think the acting is fairly good. It's a little hard to judge foreign language movies. This is a French movie. Because obviously the translation's never 100% accurate, but I think it seems fairly good, fairly well acted. I think the casting to be taking it very seriously, and they seem to be doing a good job with it, emoting when they should be, etc. I think we have a kind of our male lead, which is this police sergeant. He's quite a likeable kind of character. Makes for a good, good leading man, I would say. And there's certainly some fun elements in regards to the kind of the shark attacks. And I will say this movie, despite having some similarities to other shark films, and as I said, the whole concept of a shark travelling across the world and then happening to kind of meet up with this woman again is reminiscent of Jaws 4. But it's somewhat of original ideas, to be honest. I don't want to go too much into the actual plot stuff, but I would say it does have some original element to it, at the very least. You'll notice I haven't talked much about the sharks themselves. The effects of the sharks are mixed. I think there are some sequences, particularly when the sharks aren't thrashing around and moving around too quickly, where the effects look pretty good. But let's talk about what doesn't work, and let's just carry on from that last point. Some of the effects, on the other hand, look incredibly silly. and CGI and almost Sharknado-like. Especially when the sharks are doing more like active things is the best way I would describe it. Having fast attacks and things like this. The CGI in the sharks is definitely a mixed bag, but the ones that look bad stand out quite a lot, I have to say. So there's that. Now, I watch a lot of B movies. The VFX doesn't bother me as much as some, but it would be unfair of me to not point that out. So let's talk about other elements that maybe where I feel this movie falls down. This movie is going to be one of those films for a lot of people where you are rooting for the shark. So let me give you some context. Our main character, Sophia, this happens right at the beginning of the movie. It's the first scene, so this is not a spoiler. It is her fault that the shark ultimately attacks and kills her team. They're studying this large shark, and one of her team says it's too large. We can't attach this tracker thing to it. And she's like, no, do it. So they do, and the shark turns around and kills them. But it's never really kind of referenced again. I think one time someone says to her, oh, something was her fault, but how would they know that had happened? I mean, it was kind of like, this is way later and other things have happened at that point. But I felt like this initial incident was kind of, at least indirectly, the fault of this Sophia. Now, I would say for the rest of the movie, she's a kind of a mixed character because she, at times, it comes across as unlikable and belligerent. But I would say there's other elements where I think she does grow a little bit, I would say. But we have this kind of second female lead, this blue-haired activist who is, again, aggressive and belligerent. And because she's like like an activist type, she wants to save the shark and ultimately put other people in danger for the sake of, trying to kind of save the shark. And at one point she puts 3 divers in danger and something else even worse happens kind of later on. And she's meant to be this character that's meant to be delivering this kind of like ecological message that this movie is trying to put out there. And yes, it's a good message, humans are affecting the world at large and creating change in kind of species and things like this. That is the message, the ecological message that this movie is trying to portray. Good message. However, it's delivered by this one person who is largely responsible for a lot of people either nearly getting hurt or getting hurt. So it's like, I don't know if that was the best person to try and deliver that message. Very unlikable character, I have to say, and she is this kind of like, I don't know what she's supposed to be. She seems to be permanently hanging out in this kind of dungeon with a bunch of other kind of like activists on computers all the time, and I'm like, well, are you students? What is the go-girl with you? It's just like, I don't know. But that character was quite misjudged, and even on Sophia, I would suggest, is a little misjudged to a degree as well. Maybe not to this Mika character, but nonetheless, it's like somewhat unlikable characters, to be honest with you, outside of our sort of police sergeant. The movie, as I say, does borrow from other movies. We've got the kind of like the mayor, of course, who wants this kind of Olympic event to carry on despite knowing that there's sharks in the water at this point. Carries on, and it's only ever going to end one way, isn't it? I mean, like, how can you be that stupid? I mean, that there is like multiple sharks, and many people have died at this point, but you still go ahead and do this. I mean, it's like, even the most idiotic person wouldn't go ahead with that, And that brings me to the final point, really, is this movie is way sillier than I thought it was going to be. The interesting thing of this, the tone of the movie is actually quite serious. All the characters, all the actors are taking it pretty seriously. It's not like a kind of comedy. It's got this solemn ecological message on there. Everyone's kind of, serious characters. But my God, does it get silly. And like I said, this kind of now looks like it's part Sharknado. It's part Jaws 4, and part Sharknado. Because it gets nearly that silly. It gets nearly as silly as Sharknado. I mean, it's spectacle. When we get to the end, it's carnage. Let me just tell you. But it is. My God, it kind of. You know, it's just a bit silly, and I don't want to go into plot points, but even through the movie, there's just things that happen, reveals, kind of scientific discoveries, and plot points that happen. You're thinking, my God, this is like really bordering on a parody now. So, how to rank this one? It's maybe not the film I was expecting, but it was entertaining. You know, even though I think this movie is severely flawed, just the pure carnage of that last act of the movie, I would say for spectacle and entertainment value, it's worth watching. So I will give it a 6 out of 10 with the proviso that it's kind of maybe not the serious shark movie that maybe you might think it is going in. So yeah, it's fun. It's very dumb though. So yeah, but 6 out of 10 because it's, you know, it's somewhat fresh. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Please do leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.